listen up, because what I'm about to share with you could completely transform how women see you forever. I'm not talking about some feel-good advice or motivational fluff. I'm talking about hard truths that most men learn the painful way after it's already too late. You see, there's something most guys don't understand about attraction. They think being completely open and honest about everything makes them more attractive. They believe vulnerability equals connection. They're dead wrong. And it's costing them relationships, respect, and their masculine edge. I've watched countless men sabotage themselves by sharing things they should have kept private. These aren't bad men. They're not weak men. They're just men who never learned the unspoken rules of attraction. They never understood that some truths, when spoken, become weapons used against them. Today, I'm going to break down 5 secrets that no man should ever reveal to a woman. Not because you're being dishonest, but because you're being smart. Because you understand that mystery and self-control are more powerful than confession and oversharing. Now, before we dive deep, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This channel exists to give you the raw, unfiltered truth about attraction and relationships. The kind of truth that changes lives, not just feelings. Here's what I need you to understand first. Women operate differently than men when it comes to information. When you share something personal with your buddies, they might respect you more for being real. But when you share certain things with women, it changes their perception of you at a fundamental level. And once that shift happens, there's no going back. This isn't about manipulation or games. This is about understanding human psychology and protecting your value as a man. Every successful leader, every respected figure throughout history understood this principle. They knew that power comes from what you don't say as much as what you do say. So let's start with the first secret you must never tell a woman. Secret number 1, your deepest insecurities. The modern world has convinced men that sharing every insecurity creates intimacy. That couldn't be further from the truth. When you tell a woman about your deepest fears and self-doubts, you're not building trust. You're eroding attraction. Think about it this way. When a woman is choosing between potential partners, she's looking for strength and stability. She wants someone who can weather life's storms, not someone who's going to crumble at the first sign of pressure. Now, I'm not saying you should pretend to be perfect, but there's a massive difference between showing vulnerability in the right way and dumping your emotional baggage on someone. When you tell her you're terrified of failure, that you don't feel good enough, or that you're scared of losing everything, you plant seeds of doubt in her mind. She might comfort you in that moment. She might even say all the right things. But later, when life gets challenging, she'll remember those words. And instead of seeing a rock she can lean on, she'll see the cracks you showed her. This doesn't mean you bottle everything up inside. Find a trusted friend, a mentor, maybe even a therapist. Work through your issues privately. Master yourself in silence before you speak with authority to others. The most attractive men in history weren't those without fears. They were men who faced their fears privately and showed only courage publicly. They understood that leadership requires carrying weight without letting others see how heavy it is. Secret number 2, your past with other women. Here's where most guys completely sabotage themselves. A woman asks about your dating history and you think honesty is the best policy. Wrong. Dead wrong. Whether your number is high or low, sharing it will work against you. If it's high, she'll see you as someone who can't commit, someone who views women as conquests. If it's low, she might question your experience, your desirability, or your ability to attract other women. Here's the truth most men miss. When she asks that question, she's not really looking for information. She's testing your frame. She wants to see if you'll fold under pressure or maintain your composure. The right response isn't a number. It's redirection with confidence. Something like, I've learned what I want and what I won't settle for. This gives her nothing to use against you while keeping her intrigued. Your past relationships are irrelevant to your present value. What matters is how you treat her now, how you carry yourself, and the standards you maintain. Don't give away information that can only hurt you. Smart men understand that attraction thrives on mystery, not full disclosure. The moment you hand over every detail of your past, you row beag that keeps her interest yourself of the interred. Secret number 3, your complete financial situation. Money is one of the most dangerous topics you can discuss with women. Not because women are gold diggers, but because once you reveal exact figures, you put yourself in a box that's hard to escape. If you tell her you don't make much, she might start seeing you as limited, without ambition, even if you're building something incredible. If you tell her you make a lot, her expectations might skyrocket, and she might start measuring your worth purely by your paycheck. Either way, you lose control of how she values you. Here's what successful men understand. Women don't really want to know your exact salary. They want to feel whether you're a man with direction, ambition, and control over your financial life. They want to know you can handle responsibility and plan for the future. When pressed about money, redirect with vision. Talk about your goals, your projects, your plans for growth. Show her you're focused on building something bigger, not just collecting a paycheck. Remember, your bank account is not your identity. It's a tool, and like any valuable tool, you protect it by keeping the details private while demonstrating your competence in using it. The most powerful men in history never announce their exact wealth. They let their vision, their presence, and their actions speak louder than any number ever could. This brings us to our next secret, and this one might be the most important of all because it deals with something every man faces, but few handle correctly. We're going to talk about fear and why showing it to a woman can destroy everything you've built with her. But before we continue, I want you to think about this question. Have you ever shared something personal with a woman, thinking it would bring you closer, only to watch her pull away instead? That's exactly what we're talking about here. The things you think build connection often destroy attraction. Stay with me because what comes next will change how you handle every conversation with women for the rest of your life. Secret number 4, your fears and what terrifies you. Every man has fears. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. But the moment you voice these fears to a woman, you fundamentally alter how she sees you. You might think you're being vulnerable and authentic, but what you're actually doing is handing her a blueprint of your weaknesses. When you tell her you're scared of losing your job, afraid you're not good enough, or terrified of being abandoned, something shifts in her mind. She might offer comfort in that moment, but deep down, she starts questioning whether you're the kind of man she can rely on when life gets tough. Think about the leaders you respect most. Did they earn that respect by broadcasting their fears to everyone around them? Or did they earn it by facing those fears privately and showing only strength publicly? Fear is meant to be conquered, not confessed. When you speak your fears out loud to a woman, you're not just sharing information. You're programming her to see you as someone who might crumble under pressure. This doesn't mean you become emotionless or fake. It means you handle your fears like a man. You acknowledge them privately, you work through them systematically, and you let your actions prove your courage, not your words reveal your doubts. Women are attracted to men who can stand steady when everything around them is shaking. They want to feel safe in your presence, knowing that no matter what storm comes, you're the foundation that won't crack. So next time fear grips you, write it down, face it, master it, but never hand it over to her as your burden to carry. Let her see your courage in action, not your fear in confession. Secret number 5, how others have hurt or betrayed you. This one destroys more potential relationships than almost anything else. Men think that sharing how badly they've been treated will generate sympathy and understanding. Instead, it plants seeds of doubt about your value and judgment. When you tell her your ex cheated on you, or how women have used you before, or how people have betrayed your trust, you're not gaining her sympathy. You're making her question why others didn't value you enough to treat you better. Instead of seeing a man who's overcome adversity, she sees someone who might have been chosen last, someone who others found disposable. That's not the image you want burned into her mind. Successful men don't drag their past wounds into present conversations. They learn from their experiences, grow stronger, and move forward without needing to broadcast their pain for validation. When you constantly reference how others have wronged you, you're living in the past instead of commanding the present. You're showing her that those experiences still define you, that you haven't truly moved beyond them. The strongest response to betrayal isn't talking about it endlessly. It's rising above it so completely that it becomes irrelevant to your current story. Let your present strength speak louder than your past pain ever could. Women don't want to compete with your ghosts. They want to see that you've conquered them and left them buried where they belong. Show her the man who learned and evolved, not the victim who's still bleeding from old wounds. The power of what you don't say. Here's what most men completely miss about attraction. It's not built on what you reveal. It's built on what you withhold. Mystery creates intrigue. Self-control demonstrates power. Silence often speaks louder than 1,000 words. When you share everything, you remove the mystery that keeps her interested. When you confess every weakness, you eliminate the strength she's drawn to. When you explain every insecurity, you destroy the confidence she finds attractive. This isn't about being dishonest or fake. This is about understanding that some truths are meant to be worked through privately, not shared publicly. Some battles are meant to be fought in silence, not discussed in detail. The men who command respect and admiration aren't those who share everything. They're the ones who've learned to process their struggles internally while presenting strength externally. They understand that leadership requires carrying weight without showing how heavy it is. Every time you're tempted to overshare, ask yourself this question: will saying this make her respect me more or less? Will this information help her see me as stronger or weaker? Will sharing this detail increase her attraction or decrease it? Most of the time, if you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that keeping certain things private serves everyone better. It protects your image, maintains her attraction, and preserves the dynamic that brought you together in the first place. Why this matters more than ever. In today's world, men are constantly told to be more open, more vulnerable, more emotionally available. But here's what they don't tell you. There's a massive difference between healthy emotional intelligence and destructive oversharing. Emotional intelligence means reading the room, understanding what's appropriate to share and when, and knowing how to process your emotions without dumping them on others. Oversharing means treating every conversation like a therapy session and expecting others to carry your emotional load. Women respect men who can feel deeply but still move logically. They're attracted to men who can acknowledge their humanity without being controlled by their emotions. They want partners who can be both strong and sensitive, both vulnerable and reliable. The key is timing, context, and wisdom. There are appropriate times and ways to show vulnerability that actually increase attraction. But those moments come after you've established your strength, after she's seen your capability, after she knows you can handle whatever life throws at you. Premature vulnerability is relationship poison. It's like trying to build the roof before laying the foundation. The structure can't support the weight and everything collapses. But there's something else you need to understand about these secrets, something that goes deeper than just what not to say. It's about the mindset behind why you want to say these things in the first place. And that's what we need to address next, because understanding the psychology behind oversharing is just as important as knowing what not to share. The root of the problem. Why men overshare. You need to understand something crucial here. The reason most men spill these secrets isn't because they're weak or stupid. It's because they've been conditioned to believe that emotional dumping equals emotional connection. Society has sold them a lie that vulnerability always builds intimacy. But here's the harsh reality. When you overshare these particular secrets, you're not being vulnerable. You're being needy. You're seeking validation, comfort, and reassurance from someone who's looking to you for strength and leadership. Think about it this way. When you tell her your deepest insecurities, what are you really asking for? You want her to tell you everything's going to be okay. You want her to fix how you feel about yourself. That's not the role of a romantic partner. That's the role of a therapist or a parent. Women are naturally nurturing, so they might comfort you in the moment. But attraction doesn't operate on the same frequency as nurturing. In fact, when you consistently put her in the position of having to reassure and comfort you, you're training her to see you as someone who needs taking care of, not someone who can take care of her. The energy exchange that destroys attraction. Every relationship operates on energy exchanges. When you're constantly seeking emotional support, validation, and reassurance, you become an energy drain. You're taking more than you're giving. And women can feel this imbalance immediately. The most attractive men are energy sources, not energy sinks. They bring strength, stability, and positive momentum to every interaction. They don't need constant emotional maintenance or validation from their partners. When you share these 5 secrets, you're essentially asking her to carry your emotional load. You're making your inner peace dependent on her reaction. That's not masculine energy. That's dependent energy. Masculine energy is self-contained. It doesn't need external validation to maintain its stability. It processes challenges internally and presents solutions externally. It faces problems head-on without needing someone else to hold its hand through the process. What happens after you share these secrets? Let me paint you a picture of what actually happens after you reveal these things to a woman. At first, she might respond positively. She might hug you, tell you she understands, maybe even say she appreciates your honesty. But then something shifts. It might be subtle at first. Maybe she doesn't respond to your messages as quickly. Maybe she seems a little less enthusiastic about spending time together. Maybe she starts mentioning other men more often in conversation. This happens because once she knows your weaknesses, fears, and insecurities, she can't unknow them. Every time life presents a challenge, every time you need to make a difficult decision, every time she needs to rely on you, those confessions will echo in her mind. She'll wonder if you're really capable of handling the pressure. She'll question whether you're the kind of man who can protect and provide. She'll start looking for signs that confirm the doubts you planted in her head. And here's the cruel irony. The very things you shared to bring you closer together become the things that drive you apart. Your honesty becomes the weapon she uses to justify her diminishing attraction. The alternative, building real strength. So, what do you do with these feelings, these fears, these experiences if you can't share them with her? You use them as fuel. You transform them into strength. You let them forge you into a better man. Every insecurity you feel becomes motivation to improve. Every fear you face becomes an opportunity to build courage. Every betrayal you've experienced becomes wisdom that guides your future decisions. Instead of seeking comfort from her about your financial situation, you work harder to improve it. Instead of confessing your fears, you take action to overcome them. Instead of dwelling on past betrayals, you use that experience to make better choices about who deserves your trust. This is what separates boys from men. Boys seek comfort when they're struggling. Men seek solutions. Boys look for someone to carry their emotional burdens. Men develop the strength to carry their own weight. The paradox of attraction. Here's something that might blow your mind. The less you need her emotional support, the more she wants to give it. The less you seek her validation, the more she wants to validate you. The less you depend on her for your sense of worth, the more she values you. This is the paradox of attraction. Knee sufficiency attracts. Dependency, dyness, repels. Self creates distance. Independence creates desire. When you handle your struggles privately and present only strength publicly, she starts to wonder about your inner world. She becomes curious about what makes you so composed, so confident, so unshakable. That curiosity becomes intrigue, and intrigue becomes attraction. There you have it. 5 secrets that could save your relationships or destroy them, depending on how you handle them. Look, I'm not telling you to become some emotionless robot. I'm telling you to become a man who understands the difference between strength and weakness, between mystery and oversharing, between leading and following. Every interaction you have with a woman from this moment forward is a choice. You can choose to be the man who dumps his emotional baggage on her, seeking comfort and validation. Or you can choose to be the man who handles his battles privately while showing her only his victories. You can choose to give away every detail about yourself, removing all mystery and intrigue. Or you can choose to maintain the kind of self-control that keeps her wondering, keeps her interested, keeps her chasing. The men who master these principles don't just attract women. They command respect. They build empires. They leave legacies. Because they understand that true power isn't about what you say. It's about what you don't need to say. So here's my challenge for you. For the next 30 days, practice the discipline of silence. When you're tempted to confess an insecurity, write it down instead. When you want to share a fear, face it alone first. When you feel the urge to explain yourself, stay quiet and let your actions speak. Watch what happens. Watch how differently she looks at you when you're not constantly seeking her emotional support. Watch how her respect grows when you stop giving away your power through unnecessary confessions. And if you found value in this video, prove it. Hit that subscribe button right now. Share this with a man who needs to hear it, because this isn't just advice, it's armor. It's protection against the mistakes that destroy good men every single day. Until next time, keep your secrets close and your power closer. The world is watching, and winners don't explain themselves to anyone.